When talking about bears, one saying holds pretty true. If it's black, fight back. Even though they can put you on a shirt, your best chance with an American black bear is scaring them off and looking as big as possible. If it's brown, get down. The best way to get a brown bear off your back is to try and be as non-threatening as possible, which lying down is a good way of doing that. And if it's white, say goodnight. These Caucasian conquerors are some of the only animals that will view humans as prey, but attacks are still rare. If you are in the situation where you get stalked by a living weapon, then you may have made one too many mistakes in a short period to bounce back from. On today's episode of Endangered Inhabitants, we'll be ice skating into the world of Ursus maritimus, the polar bear. Bears of all kinds are found in the mammalian order Carnivora, a group that contains all extant large mammalian land predators. This order is differentiated by some key traits such as the presence of carnassials, modified shearing teeth meant to consume flesh. Carnivora can then be divided into two suborders: the Feliformia, which contains the cats, civets, hyenas, mongoose, and their close relatives, and the Caeniformia, which contains the dogs, raccoons, bears, mustelids, skunks, pinnipeds, and their close relatives. Bears can then be found in the family Ursidae. This family first appeared in the late Eocene, around 38 million years ago. This family can then be divided into three extant subfamilies: the Alarpodinae, which contains the pandas, with only one extant species, the Treminarctinae, which contains the short-faced bears, with only one extant species, and the Ursinae, which contains all 6 other living species of bear. And these bears then fall into the genus Ursus, this family first appearing in the Pliocene around 5.3 million years ago. Polar bears themselves are an offshoot of brown bears that are thought to have broken off at least 150,000 years ago. This split coincides with a warm interglacial period when brown bears may have shifted their range northward and colonized higher latitudes. But rather than moving back down south, they decided to stay and adapt to an Arctic lifestyle. The polar bear is the largest living species of bear and land carnivore. This species is highly sexually dimorphic when it comes to size. Males reach weights of 300 to 800 kilograms, or 660 to 1,760 pounds, and lengths of 200 to 250 centimeters, or 6 foot 6 to 8 foot 2. Females are much more modest, while still being massive, weighing in at 150 to 300 kilograms, or 330 to 660 pounds, and reaching lengths of 180 to 200 centimeters, or 5 foot 9 to 6 foot 6. Polar bears can typically live between 15 to 18 years, but can live up to 30 years in the wild. Compared to brown bears, polar bears have a more slender build with a narrower, flatter, smaller skull, a longer neck, and a lower shoulder hump. Their eye orbits are more elevated while their limbs are denser, both traits associated with semi-aquatic behavior. Polar bears have large, flat, and partially webbed paws that help them swim and provide traction on ice. The soles of their feet have uneven skin and small bumps called papillae that help prevent slipping. They can actually kill you with their bare paws. As expected of an Arctic mammal that isn't a cetacean or pinniped, polar bears have an extremely thick fur coat. The bear's outer layer of fur, made up of guard hairs, are hollow and reflect light, giving the fur the white color that helps the bear remain camouflaged, also allowing the animals to trap heat and more easily float in water. The skin under their fur is actually black, also including the nose and the lips. This allows them to absorb heat, like how cars basically become the pits of hell when left in the sun. This heat is better retained with a thick layer of fat about 5 to 10 centimeters or 2 to 4 inches thick, akin to other marine mammals and their blubber, which in some sources claim polar bears have, but others don't, so I'm not even going to risk it. Polar bears are found in the Arctic, if that wasn't obvious. They can be found in northern Canada, Alaska in the United States, Greenland, Russia, and Svalbard and Jan Mayen of Norway. Vagrant individuals who have strayed from their usual range, have been spotted in Iceland as well. They can then be divided into 18 subpopulations based on geographic isolation and genetics. Their preferred habitat is ice-covered waters where they exist at low densities whenever ice is present. They're dependent enough on the ocean to be considered a marine mammal. In summer open water season, the bears can be found in higher densities on land, mostly in tundra and grasslands, while waiting for the sea ice to return. Polar bears are hypercarnivores, meaning 70% or more of their diet is composed of meat. These bears are the apex predators of the sea ice, mainly feeding on ice-living seals and consuming their energy-rich blubber. The most commonly taken species is the ringed seal, but other species taken include bearded, harp, hooded, spotted, ribbon, and harbor seals when they stray from more temperate waters. Walruses are also targeted, but mainly the young, as adults, with their thick skin and long tusks, are too formidable. Other animals hunted include beluga whales, narwhals, reindeer, birds and their eggs, fish, and marine invertebrates. They also commonly scavenge carcasses and even garbage dumps. These bears hunt in several different ways depending on the situation. If they spot a seal hauled out on the ice, they slowly stalk it with their head and neck lowered while crouching until they're close enough to make a charge at high speed before the seal can make it back to the water. They often wait at ice holes, holes in the ice used by marine mammals to breathe, and wait until they can ambush prey when they surface to breathe. They'll use their raw power to kill their prey, relying on bites and swipes from their claws to get the job done. They have around 32 to 42 teeth, including 12 incisors, 4 canines, 8 to 16 premolars, and 10 molars. These teeth are adapted for a more carnivorous diet than that of the brown bear, having longer, sharper, and more spaced out canines, as well as smaller, more pointed cheek teeth. They sport a large diastema, the space or gap between two teeth, between the canines and cheek teeth, which may allow for better biting into prey. Polar bears are typically solitary, aside from mothers with cubs or mating pairs. During the summer, they can be found close together as they gather around food resources. Adult males will tolerate each other on land and outside of the breeding season. Alliances have even been recorded where bears will travel, rest, and play together. Females with young elect to stay away from males, as they may kill said cubs to bring the mother back into estrus. While they do communicate with each other using body language and vocalizations, the sense they use the most is their sense of smell. It is the most sensitive of any land mammal. They use it for both communication and acquiring their daily bread. They can use that schnoz to smell from up to 20 miles or 32 kilometers away, and under 3 feet or a meter of ice and snow. This can be a lifeline in periods of food scarcity. These bears travel massive distances in their constant search for calories. They can travel areas anywhere between 3,500 kilometers squared, or 1,400 square miles, to 38,000 square kilometers, or 15,000 square miles in a single year, while drifting ice allows them to move even further. These movements are powered by that energy-rich diet. They can use those stompers to sprint at speeds of 40 kilometers per hour or 25 miles per hour for short distances. They are also fantastic swimmers, swimming around 6 kilometers per hour or 3.7 miles per hour, which they can sustain for days on end. Polar bear mating generally takes place on the sea ice during spring, mostly between March and May. Males will search for females in estrus while often traveling in twisting paths, which reduce their chances of encountering other males while still allowing them to find females. Upon finding his queen, the male will try to isolate and guard her. Courtship can be somewhat aggressive, with males pursuing females that try and run away, just like I do. Females will actually mate with multiple males in a season, with some cubs from the same litter coming from different fathers. Once the nasty has been completed, females will build up more fat reserves until she constructs herself a maternity den for the winter where she hibernates. Polar bears exhibit delayed implantation, with the fertilized embryo not starting to develop until the fall. With this, gestation lasts 7 to 9 months, but the pregnancy itself only lasts 2. Whilst in their slumber, mother polar bears will typically give birth to litters of 2 cubs. These newborns are tiny and blind, being kept warm by both their mother's body heat and the den, with their mother's fatty milk fueling their growth. The mother typically emerges from the den between late February to early April, with well-developed cubs in tow. The family will stay near the den for roughly 2 weeks, until they strike out on the sea ice. Cubs under a year old stay close to their mother. Once they reach around 2.5 years old, they are ready to make it out on their own. Polar bears are listed as vulnerable on the IUCN Red List. It is estimated that between 22,000 to 31,000 individuals remain, while the current population trend is unknown, varying depending on the subpopulation you're talking about. As everyone and their mama knows, the biggest threat polar bears face is climate change. The biggest danger climate change poses to polar bears is malnutrition and starvation due to habitat loss. As the bears rely on the sea ice to hunt seals, rising temperatures are causing the ice to melt earlier in the year, driving the bears to the shore before they have built sufficient fat reserves to survive the period of food scarcity in the late summer to early fall. Insufficient nourishment leads to low reproductive rates in females and lower survival rates in cubs and subadults. Lack of access to prey triggers another domino effect, with bears moving further inland to find enough food, which can lead them into conflict with humans. This moving inland can also result in hybridization with brown bears, either creating a roller or pizzly bear, which shouldn't be happening. Oil and gas development also present additional pressures in some parts of their range. Along with the large infrastructure development that comes with this drilling, large swathes of prime bear habitat could be threatened by large oil spills if they were to occur. Polar bears accumulate large amounts of pollutants such as PCBs and chlorinated pesticides, with their position at the top of the ecological pyramid. I would like to thank each and every one of you for watching. I hope you enjoyed and learned something new. If you did enjoy, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe for future videos. I'm trying to ramp up production again after a slump, seeing as it's been a week since my zebra shark video. But we here, we're gonna get going, let's go. Make sure to follow my socials, and I hope everyone has a pleasant day. Peace!